Hey guys, what's up? It's Robbie here, and we are taking a very in-depth special look at Dishonored 2, including the story, with no spoilers mind you, the brand new world, gameplay mechanics, Emily's powers, and of course Corvo's powers. We're going over everything you need to know about Dishonored 2. So guys, let's dive into it right now. And of course, as you guys can see here, Dishonored 2 looks absolutely gorgeous. It has such a unique art style, and I think a lot of you guys will really appreciate it. It's also an upgrade from the previous Dishonored, but what about the story? It's really what makes Dishonored such a special franchise. So Dishonored 2 will embark players on a journey through a world 15 years after the events of the first game. Instead of playing just as Corvo Atano this time, who was of course Dishonored's original protagonist, players will now be able to bounce back and forth between playing as Corvo and, get this, Emily Kaldwin, the little girl from the first game who is now all grown up. In fact, she did end up taking her rightful place on the throne, but unfortunately lost it. Now she seeks justice by becoming a supernatural assassin to retake her position. So that's the gist of the story. I'm not going to spoil it any further than that, but where Dishonored 2 really does shine is in those moments where you can spy on some NPCs and really get some insight into the world by what they are saying through conversation. And that was a highlight also in Dishonored 1 as well. But just like the narrative and the story, the new world is going to be a highlight for sure. Now, Dishonored 2 isn't an open world game by any means, although the levels are quite large and offer a variety of ways to get through them. And I do think a lot of you will be replaying this game maybe twice, maybe even 3 times. Let's just say your options are very open indeed. You won't be returning to the city of Dunwell, however, which was Dishonored 1 city that you played in. And of course, you may remember that was overrun by those pesky rat critters. Now instead, you'll be headed south to the city of Karnica, where instead of rats, you'll be greeted by, get this, an infestation of bloodflies. Now let's move on to the actual gameplay mechanics. Now, exploring the world is a real treat, and you'll be able to do it with a wide variety of powers too, which can actually influence your playstyle. You can kill everyone in sight, or stealth your way through the entire level. And yes, if you are a pacifist, you can opt out of killing and get by the entire game without shedding any blood. The gameplay is further divided into Corvo's abilities and of course Emily's, which really does make it a standout experience. And I really do like that they did this with the game. It really does feel unique, especially to the first Dishonored. And you may remember Assassin's Creed Syndicate did the same thing with their 2 protagonists, but this time you can notice the difference for sure with the abilities. So let's talk about those abilities and start with Emily's powers. So Emily has a mobility power, first of all, called Far Reach, which acts like a supernatural grapple, which can be used to move through the environment quickly or tear your enemies apart. She also has the ability to create a mirror of herself, which, by the way, can be upgraded to actually assassinate targets for you. So it's a doppelganger that can actually do your bidding. Who doesn't want to make a clone on the fly, am I right? And Domino is another fantastic ability which links enemies together to share the same fate. Let me explain in just a moment. So get this, if you domino several poor fools together, you can grapple one of them, but this will in turn affect everyone in the same way. So they will all grapple together over a cliff, or you can assassinate them all at once. They share the same fate. In other words, it's quite the domino effect, hence the name. Combining Domino with all of her abilities is fantastic, so there's a ton of room to really experiment with the progression system here. And yes, there is a full progression system. It's very much an RPG, so do not worry, it's an extremely deep experience in terms of the abilities. For example, she could use Mesmerize and Domino together to put her victims in a trance, and of course upgrade both of those abilities individually. But her Shadow Walk is by far her most frightening ability in my opinion, which turns her into a monstrous creature which can rip her enemies apart. But do not forget you can play as either Emily or Corvo throughout the entire game. And Corvo's powers return also with new improvements. Yes, your ability to control a swarm of rats has returned, but this time you could have 2 herds of rats with you and even have them in a more defensive, protective mode. They can be an absolute powerhouse for you if you wanted them to be. Now, bending time also returns, where you can slow and even stop time altogether. And of course, you can physically enter a character's body, animal or human, to move through the world unnoticed. It also helps you get into those tight corners or inaccessible places, but you can now hide inside of, get this guys, corpses too. They offer the perfect hiding spot. So when you're in a battle or something, you could kill your foe, then hide in his dead body and no one is the wiser. And Blink is definitely one of my favorite moves, allowing you to teleport through the world, but this time you can pause time in the air to further adjust your next move. And of course, player choice is driving everything in Dishonored 2. Dishonored was an incredible game with a very realized game world, and Dishonored 2 appears to deliver this once again in a brand new game world, and boy does it look absolutely gorgeous. Like the old game Thief though, some of the best experiences are again just witnessing the world's characters move about their business, overhearing their conversations, and pushing forward to newer, brilliant environments. And really guys, when you see this game and you see the environments, they are so creative. And I do remember that about the first Dishonored. They were really one of the big highlights of the game. And player choice carries over from gameplay to narrative. And yes, you can expect multiple endings to return, much like the first Dishonored. Being able to choose 2 different characters will offer players a reason to revisit the game world, considering their own observations of it are actually quite different. So you will hear Corvo talking about the game world when he is exploring it, and the same thing is true about Emily, and you'll get different takes on this game world. It's very fascinating to see this from Dishonored 2. Of course, as you may remember with Dishonored 1, Corvo did not have a voice. You did not have a first-person dialogue in the first one, but it is a thing here in the second one, and it does appear that they did do it right in Dishonored 2. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about Arcane Studios. These are the guys that have developed Dishonored 2, and of course, the first Dishonored game. They are extremely talented, and they are working on some future projects. We should hopefully get some Dishonored 2 DLC, of course. That's something I would expect, simply because we did see that from Dishonored 1. But get this, guys, they are working on Prey 2. Now, this one looks really cool. You may remember the initial Prey 2 trailer. It was very different from what Arcane Studios is envisioning, of course. But for Arcane Studios, they're not going for the whole bounty hunter look with Prey 2. Instead, you will be on a space station. It's very open worldish, mind you, and it's a lot like BioShock's design in terms of how you actually explore the game world. You may remember in BioShock how the levels actually opened up and you could return to certain areas. That's going to be the same thing they will be going for Prey 2, and it looks really cool, and it is running off a similar engine as Dishonored 2, and of course I think they're going to have their own unique art style and flair to it, and they really do a good job with tapping into the story through the environment. So I think that's going to be a big thing for Prey 2. Now, what about the release date for Prey 2? Well, what we do know about Prey 2 is that it will be coming in 2017. Of course, there could be delays. Video games are always delayed. Besides, this looks like it's going to be a very big game. It's not going to be a multiplayer-centric game because you know Arcane Studios, they really excel with single player. But guys, look forward to more news about Prey 2 and the future of what Arcane Studios is working on. This is a very talented studio, and I'm really thrilled at how Dishonored 2 has turned out. Now, Dishonored 2 is launching on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. If you didn't know, November 11th, and the wait has definitely been worth it, guys. Look forward to more coverage about any upcoming DLC for Dishonored 2. Of course, more open world gaming goodness from Bethesda. They are really nailing down their games. They're constantly releasing high quality stuff. Thanks guys for watching. Look forward to more, and I will see you guys later.